Welcome to Friendly Fire Show, episode 147 for the first week of November. I am one of your hosts, Steve from Stevivor, and with me is...
Ben from Stevivor.
Welcome back, dude. You've been on like a whirlwind trip.
It's been a long time. I've missed the whole holiday period, so all of these amazing games came out, and people complained about things, and people love things, and I didn't play any of them, so that's quite rare. I haven't done that for a long time. Just sat back... Yeah, that's true.
You're better off for it. You're better off for it, dude.
Maybe. It's felt like a smaller year. It hasn't been as busy as previous ones, but we're not done, of course. But yeah, I had a month of no games. I had a Switch with me, and I played it maybe twice on the train twice, and that's it. So I'm refreshed, ready to go.
Was that because you just don't like playing Switch on the go, or because your significant other was getting mad at you for playing the Switch? Or
two
combinations
or three.
therein?
Well, so it works pretty well on a train. So when you're moving around Europe, you take a train everywhere, and the Switch kind of fits that. On a plane, I don't know about you, but I find I don't have enough space. So like even on like an aisle or a window seat where you don't have someone on one side, it's hard to kind of fit your elbows up to get it in front of your face. So I find it really uncomfortable on a plane. But that's
I struggle with the battery life. Like not that it's a bad battery life, but it's a finite battery life, and I don't like having all the cords kind of connected everywhere to try to recharge the thing. So
well, the new one has fixed that. But yes.
True, but I don't like it, so I don't want it, and I'd like having detachable Joy-Cons.
Not even that one. The revised version of the main Switch has like a 7 or 8 hour battery now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other problem on a plane is you're so jammed in, and like your knees hit the seat in front of you that I have nowhere to put it. Like, I can't put it in the back pocket because I need that space. That 4 centimeters is vital. So, yeah, I don't really like Switch when I travel.
There you go. Do you want to talk about where you went, or do you not care that people care or want to know? Or I don't know if they do want to know.
People don't care, but this is my first non-games related trip since 2011. So every other trip overseas since then, I've done something games related, and I'm not complaining. Like, we get to travel a lot doing this. And quite often tack on a holiday at the end. I know you go see your family a lot when you have to go anywhere near Canada, so it's a perk. But on the other side, it was nice just to not have to worry about doing all this work as well, or play any games. So that's also why I didn't really play much, because it's good to have a little break sometimes.
It's a break. I like that.
It's a break from constant Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. So it's good for the mind.
That's true. And you've played some stuff since you've been back anyway, so it's not like you've completely missed games. I know you've played COD. Is there anything else that you've been playing?
Dabbled.
We might as well
Yeah, we'll get to COD. I've played a little Outer Worlds, but not much, just to see what it was like. I have played Ghost Recon, not now, but I played about 4 hours at E3 before everyone started to hate it. So it's pre-launch. And that's about it. I played like 10 minutes of Luigi's Mansion. I was going to kind of pause it and play it later maybe, because there's a little period now where stuff's coming out. There's going to be Pokemon, there'll be Star Wars, and I thought maybe I'll save Luigi for my January game. But yeah, that's about it.
So this literally is just me telling you about video games at this point.
All the video games you love.
Definitely loved them all. Absolutely loved every single one of them. When did you leave? That's a good question.
The 29th of September, and I returned on the 25th of October. So a big chunk of the,
Oh, God. Okay, so we're not going to talk about Switch releases that have already been out on other platforms. We're not going to talk about Red Dead Redemption 2 because that is the same kind of boat. Not on Switch, though, but on PC as opposed to console. So I guess if I have to tell you about all the games that you haven't been playing since you've been gone, I should start with Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Yeah, well, I have played a little of that one, and I really liked what I played, but as I said, it was 3 hours or 4 hours in a confined really controlled space, so I did not get the full launch experience. So what happened? Well,
it's not buggy, it's not gross, it's just a lot more Ghost Recon in a world where I feel like I've just played through the Division 2, and it's very tactical shooter, do headshots on people, go to point A, go to point B, be military guy. So like, it's not buggy, it's not gross, it's just kind of like Ubisoft game with Ubisoft game fatigue, where it's just the stuff that you've been doing and doing and doing. The map is gigantic, but there's not a lot of stuff to do from point to point to point to point. So I was just jumping in a helicopter and kind of flying to my next objective, shooting things, getting loot, comparing numbers, going, oh, this has a better gun than the one I have, equipping it, getting in the helicopter, flying to the next thing. So, like, as a game, if that's what you like doing, more power to you. But, like, it's just bland, I guess is the best way to put it. Did I answer your question, or did I kind of just talk around it? I don't know.
Yeah, that made sense.
Good. Let's leave it at that. The other game after that, as far as I can tell on the reviews list, is Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, which was actually way better than I thought it was going to be. So Playtonic made the original Yooka-Laylee, which was a 3D homage to like Banjo-Kazooie, basically. And it was a pretty good game in itself. But then they made this random decision to kind of make it a 2.5D game instead, so more akin to a Donkey Kong Country, I guess, than a Banjo-Kazooie. And it's actually really, really good. So there's this kind of premise of the Impossible Lair, and it is literally an impossible lair. You will have 2 chances normally to go through it and get hit before you die. So Laylee is the bat. If you get hit once, she will kind of freak out and fly away, and if you don't pick her back up, you get hit another time and then you die. But the kind of conceit around that is there's a whole bunch of little battalions in the overworld, which you can go and complete a level to gain one of. And the idea is each battalion member that you obtain acts as like a shield, so you can get hit one more time or one more time after that, to kind of help you progress through said impossible lair. So there's like the overworld, which lets you kind of go and explore and get extra battalion members and, you know, find little secrets. And then there's like little worlds within that you jump into and actually complete a level to, you know, progress. And then there's this kind of weird switching mechanic, so you can basically take one level and make it a secondary version of that same level by freezing it or, you know, submerging it in water or setting it on fire. So, you know, like each level has 2 different play states rather than just the one. It's really, really fun, actually. It's super challenging. The Impossible Lair is like nigh on impossible. And it's just kind of like a really fun game to explore.
Seems like
how is that
for... be better at. Yeah.
No, it's really fun.
They went for the 90s style 3D platformer, and there's a reason no one except for Nintendo has continued to do that. So the side-scroller seems like you could make a better game like that now. Is that kind of a fair comment?
Yeah, and as we like see with like the Medieval remaster or re-release, no, it was a remaster, where it was like super, what's the word I want? I don't know. It was very, it honored the shitty PS1 camera in a, you know, like a one of the original kind of 3D games, and it turned out to be a mess because the camera's broken and you hate it. The same was kind of true for the original Yooka-Laylee. It's kind of like, we've moved past this. It's not quite the right way to be making a game in this day and age. So I think it was a smart move, actually. I was kind of thinking the worst of what it would represent, but it was actually pretty good. I just thought, they're making it 2.5D. They're cutting corners and they're not, you know, dumping as much money into this game as the last one. But I was completely wrong, and it was very fun. I would recommend it.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good. Ghostbusters, the video game, back in the saddle. That's the title of the review. It's a game that got re-released. It's really fun. I'm not talking about it. If you like the original, you'll still like this one. It's kind of in the same vein of Medieval, where the same problems from the original persist in this re-release, for good or for bad. Ben, did you know that Destiny 2 is a video game?
I vaguely heard of it, I think. Yeah.
Did you know it's free to play, and you could just play most of it right now without having to spend any money?
Is it free to play? I didn't actually know that.
So there's a new version called New Light, which gives you everything up to Forsaken for free. And then you can buy the Forsaken expansion and or the Shadowkeep expansion. But even with the paid stuff, there's a bunch of things like the Crucible and Strikes that you just get for free as a free-to-play player. Shadowkeep is the first thing we've seen from Bungie now that they are the keepers of Destiny 2. So there's no Activision influence, and it's already leaps and bounds better than Destiny 2 was under Activision, which isn't to say it was all Activision's fault, but Bungie is kind of like, they're the keepers of the keys. They have exactly the ability and the power to do whatever they want. So there's been huge changes to the way that armor drops, to the way that you earn and can apply cosmetics. There's so much to talk about. I'm not going to even give it a red hot go, but Hamish wrote a really, really good review, not only talking about the new Shadowkeep content, but what Destiny is now because of the change. Let me put it this way to you, Ben. I have all the achievements in Destiny 2.
Yep.
I have still put like 60 hours into Destiny 2 since Shadowkeep came out. It's
How
really,
have
really fun.
you found the time to do that amongst all these other games?
Well, Ben, let me tell you something that I hope people at work don't find out about. Because of this new cross-save functionality that they've implemented in the game, cross-progression works between PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, provided you have purchased the appropriate content. So I haven't bought anything on PS4, but I got a code for Xbox One, and I bought the expansion on Steam, because Destiny 2 has now moved from Battle.net to Steam. So I can play the entire game on PC or on Xbox, and I can jump between each to do so. So if I have like an hour free at lunch at work, my computer at work's good enough that I can play Destiny, and it's probably better than playing on my Xbox, to be honest. So I've gotten in some time there. I've gotten in some time at home, because I can now play with people like Hamish, who's, hardcore PC. I can jump on the PC version of the game on my Surface and play with him for a bit. I can jump on the Xbox version with my friends in Saskatoon on the weekend. And I'm just kind of bouncing between platforms, continuing to progress the same character, and it's really, really fun.
Well,
so it's good.
I'll take your word for it. I did like Destiny 2 at the beginning. I just cannot be bothered doing the expansion. So what I'm more curious about is, before they were splitting with Activision, it seemed like they were going to go down the Destiny 3, Destiny 4 path, because that is very Activision, the whole keep making us more money. But are we just going to stick with Destiny 2 for a long time now, do you think?
I think so. And I think when it comes time to maybe think about a Destiny 3, and we're kind of delving into some news, so you can talk about this if you're up across it. Overwatch 2 is a really good example of a game as a service evolving and progressing whilst not losing any of the original player base. So at BlizzCon, Overwatch 2 is announced. It's going to be basically Overwatch 1 with some extra stuff. And like a story-based mode, some campaign stuff, but all the maps, all the game modes, all the cosmetics that you've earned will just come across. So it is a sequel, but it's kind of a better sequel than Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 was. So Destiny 2 started off with like, oh, you've lost all your stuff. That's just how it works. Oops. Like, start again from scratch. Where like Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2 is kind of just like, we've upgraded some stuff, and it's a nicer engine. It's going to work with Project Scarlet and PS5. So like, we'll just kind of transition this way. So I think sequels will go that route. I don't think that Bungie needs to do that with Destiny 2 just yet, because it runs like super smooth on PC. And it's no slouch on Xbox One and PS4. So I don't know, like, I wouldn't be that upset if they made a Destiny 3 and just kind of let you progress properly and all the content came across with you and you're just kind of getting a new engine and some better bells and whistles. But we'll see. Did I answer your question, or am I rambling? I feel like I'm rambling today.
You are rambling, but that's standard for this show. But this was always going to happen with games as a service. They didn't really know how to monetize it because it clashed with the traditional publisher cycle of, here's some new content. It's either DLC, which you pay for, or it's a whole new game, which you pay for. And Overwatch is a good example. There was never a set end date, whereas, it's the same company, Activision Blizzard, but the Call of Duty is coming out every single year. They've got that planned out. There's no intention for you to have only one Call of Duty. They want you to buy a new one every year. So what are they going to do? And Activision have now seen what's happened by totally relaunching Destiny with Destiny 2, so they've gone the other way with Overwatch, and it's probably trial and error. Just see what the fan base will pay for, because ultimately they want money. But then what makes them stick around, which is what they want with a service. So you don't want a game where someone just jumps off after 18 months because we get bored of it.
Oh, definitely. And like you look at EA right now, like they're not putting on a Battlefield next year because they're going to focus on Apex Legends, which is like that game as a service. We're just going to, that's our shooter. We're not going to worry about a Battlefield. We're not going to do a Battlefront. We're just going to do Apex Legends. And who knows what, like the next Battlefield will look like if they kind of take it more in that vein, or if they just do the, every year, every second year release.
They've kind of doubled down on Battlefield 5 now, and they're giving it more content than they have previously. So it's kind of like, there's our Battlefield. If you want to play, we have a great one right here. We don't need another one straight away. And that's a good way to go, I think.
I think so, too. I could talk about Destiny 2 for ages, but I'm not going to. Concrete Genie is next on my list. Are you familiar with it?
Never heard of that. Is that a game?
It is. Yes, Ben. Here in this gaming podcast, we talk about games. It's a PS4 exclusive by the same guys who did something, and I forget what it is, so I'm going to cheat and stall for time as I click into my review. It's by Sony first-party studio called Pixel Opus, who did Entwined a while ago. Like a really pretty, colorful, like little kind of indie-style game. Concrete Genie is much the same. It's about a kid who has a giant paintbrush, and he can kind of like paint graffiti on walls and have some of the graffiti come to life in the form of said concrete genies. You can spawn different colored genies to like set fire to obstacles so you can progress through the game, or I can't remember anymore. It's been like a month and I forget, but it's kind of cute. It reminds me a lot of like the graffiti kind of stuff in Jet Set Radio, but it's not like a roller skating game where you go and grind off things. It's just like a really cute little game about like a rundown city, and you're kind of like painting graffiti in like really pretty neon colors and patterns to like make, like really pretty looking artwork. And you can also like paint strings of lights to kind of get through the game as well. So you're like bringing light back to this community. You're, livening it up. And there's this kind of like sub thread of bullying that's kind of woven through the story as well. So you're bullied as the title character of Ash. But eventually you start kind of engaging with the bullies and figuring out why they're so horrible. And, like you find out that, like this kid's being abused by his dad or whatever. And like it's letting you look at the other side of the bully and, trying to connect the bullied and the bullying. And it does it pretty well, to be honest. It's a fairly short game. It's really, really fun. And it's kind of one of those ones that you just kind of play and sit back and relax. So I highly recommend it. And I just want to make that very clear, Ben. I gave a very good score in the month of October to a Sony game exclusive to PS4. And I don't know why that's coming up, but I just wanted to make that very clear.
What score did you give it?
An 8.5.
That's an excellent
very
score.
Good. And it's $40. It's like super cheap. It's a good score. It's a good game. I do actually recommend it quite highly.
Well, no one's going to pay any attention to that recommendation.
Not that I'm salty about people being salty. How about John Wick, Ben? Are you a fan?
I'm a fan. I've seen the 3 movies. I was actually just thinking the other day, they take place over like 4 or 5 days or something. So he is pretty beat up at the end of the 3rd one.
Pretty much. And he's like beat up by the end of the 1st one, if we're being honest.
But, I don't know how he keeps going. The man's 55 years old, so...
Well, it's Keanu Reeves. He can do anything.
Yeah, that's
He got his screen time doubled in Cyberpunk 2077, we've just heard, so... He's keen for action.
Well, he
so
had a
much
very...
action.
So much action. The people loved him, so I can see why they'd do that. You could see that mid-Xbox conference. I'm sure CD Projekt Red were in the background saying, more Keanu, we need more...
Well, he is pretty breathtaking. And so too, Ben, is the PC game exclusive to the Epic Games Store called John Wick Hex. Man, I didn't realize how many games I'd reviewed since you've been gone. Like, we're not even halfway through.
Busy.
John Wick Hex is really, really good. I'm so tired, Ben. I'm so tired. John Wick Hex is really, really good. It's like a top-down strategy game where you control John. So it's not like a first-person shooter. It's not like a brawler or anything. It's like a point-and-click, figure out what you want to do type game. So you can click to move John around the map. As bad guys come, you can decide to shoot them, or you can get in close and, punch them, or you can do a takedown, which will like knock them out. And as you're playing through the game, you have like a John timeline at the top of the screen. And then you also have like another bar above that, which has the enemy timeline, which shows their actions. And you can kind of gauge your timeline and their timeline to see who will like finish their action first. So if you decide to start punching a guy, but he is going to shoot you, and you can see that the bullet's going to hit you before you can punch him, like you're probably going to get staggered and you might not even punch, but you've been shot. So it's this cool like strategic time management game where you need to be as lethal and as efficient as you possibly can be. And when you're playing, you can kind of feel that already, that it's very much like the very tactical, efficient action sequences in John Wick, where he's, like doing the one shot, and then, like maybe as he walks by, he'll like, do a double tap to get him in the head just to make sure they're dead. And he's just always kind of very, like, he's always watching, he's very aware of what he's doing. So it's cool enough in that respect. But then when you finish a level, you have the option to play it back in kind of like a cinematic style, which takes your actions and your movements and like swings the camera down so it's more like, like a cutscene in a game or a movie. And it just shows you doing what you did to get through the level, but like in a very stylized way that looks like it could be from a John Wick movie. So it's like really, really cool in that sense. And it's super difficult as you continue getting through it. Like you need to really, really plan out what you're doing or you'll die. I didn't think it was going to be as much fun as it was. It was super fun. And I, once again, highly recommend it, Ben.
Well, that's good. People were raving at E3 about it, so I didn't play it there, but I didn't really think to. People were saying it was amazing. And it did make me think that John Wick is one of the only movie franchises where it would really work as a game, because it would make sense. You get shot 50 times, but you're still alive, and you kill 500 people, and that's what John Wick does. So you don't need to make any excuses for it.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And like there's bandages and there's something called focus. So you can just stop and like bandage your wounds up, because you do have a health meter. You can get shot a couple times, but you will die. But you can like mitigate the health or the loss of health. And then there's also kind of like a focus meter. So every move you take also depletes the focus. So eventually you'll just have to kind of stand there and shake your head to kind of get your head back in the game. It's really cute. And it gets compared to Super Hot quite a bit, because it's that kind of like stop and think, plan your actions. And that's a fairly accurate comparison as well. It's kind of like a top down RTS with a lot of Super Hot aesthetics, which is really, really fun and really cool. So Mike Bithell did that, and it's super neat.
Is there any hope of it coming to consoles?
It could. Like, we're getting Civ 6 on Xbox and PS4 in the next week or so, I think. I can't remember exactly when it comes out. Maybe it's already out by now. So like it would be a little bit more fiddly, I think, than a point and click kind of interface, but it wouldn't be hard to do. Good Shepherd has published it. So I'm not sure if that's a limitation or if it was just kind of designed for PC or bust, but I'd play it on Xbox again, especially for dem achievements.
Of course.
That's not me.
Now, what else have you been playing?
Well, Overwatch came out on Switch. Not going to talk about it in great detail, but it's one of those games where it works on Switch, but it doesn't work as well on Switch as it would, like on a console or PC. So if you are dead set to play Overwatch on the go, by all means pick it up. But it is a completely online title, so you have to play it on the go, maybe tethered to your phone. So I don't know. I just don't quite understand the appeal of it. But if you do, more power to you. If you're playing at home, though, and it's docked and you're playing on the TV, get it on any other platform because it looks like garbage.
That's pretty much any game on Switch. If you're not planning to play it handheld, then probably get it somewhere else.
Yeah.
No offense, Switch owners.
Ben, you can talk for once, and I'm just going to have like a giant long sip of beer. How much time have you had with your Xbox Elite Controller Series 2?
2 days I've had. Now, I'm a big fan of the Elite Series 1. I have two of them. Both of them broke. So both, not broke, but both of them had the rubber grips peel off. sent them to Microsoft, and now one of them is having that again, and one of them has a loose joystick. So 4 controllers and 4 faulty controllers, I would say, is the only downside of that controller. It's excellent. It's much better to play with. I struggle to play with a normal controller now, but it does break eventually. So
yeah.
The biggest thing that I want to know about the Elite Series 2 is have they fixed it? Is I'm not going to know for a year or two, because that is when the warranty runs out, and that's when I expect it to break. So hopefully not.
I think so. Like the 2 big problems that came with the original were that the grips kind of fell off, which never happened to me at all. But I have broken, as you said, I've gone through 4 as well. I've broken 4 right bumpers by like something snapped in them, and then the bumper's just gone.
So it must be play style or something, how you hold it makes these faults, because people seem to have the same problem, and you get a new one back and you have the same thing happen. So it must be how you hold it. It was just dodgy glue on like the grips, and for a $200 controller, you don't expect that to happen. So to their credit, Microsoft they replaced mine like 2.5 years after I got them. So that's good.
Mine
service.
too.
But
it's that thing where, like, is it because that, like, they know that we do what we do, or is it just because we're customers of Microsoft? Like, I'm always kind of leery about that.
That one was
honest.
a customer. I mean, I was, when they both broke at the same time pretty much, I was willing to go through the back channel direct to Xbox people that I know, but I didn't. I just did it as a normal customer warranty, and it got sorted pretty easy, so I don't think so.
But is the email associated with your account flagged as a games journal? And I'm willing to bet it is.
Well, yes, at some point, yes. I don't know.
So I'm benefit of the doubt. I don't know, but like I've done the same thing. I've done a couple through, like, Microsoft, it's broken, fix it, and like just going to the support page and lodging a claim, even though it was past like the warranty. So anyway, I'll shut up. What do you think about this new one so far? You know, like, obviously we can't go in the future and figure out if
That's true.
bumper button still works, but like, what do you reckon? What do you think about it so far?
So it's a little more expensive. It's $250, which is getting up there for a controller. Initially, when I first held it, I thought something's like, it doesn't feel right, and it's just because it feels different. So it doesn't quite feel the same as the Elite. They've changed how the grips work. The rubber now goes around the whole thing. So I assume that's to fix it peeling off, because now that it's around the whole way, it can't peel off anything. It's the whole thing is rubber. And when I first held it, the first hour or so I was playing with it, it kind of felt like I had something sticky on my hand, and I don't know if that's just it's new and it needs to be used a bit, but I don't know, it felt a little strange. Having said that, I picked up my normal Elite controller today, only 2 days later, and now that felt weird. So it's that movement where I can't really use both of them now. I'm going to have to commit to one, because the paddles on the back are also a different size. So they're much better. They're clickier. They feel more responsive. Straight away, I've had to take 2 of them off, because I've only ever used 2, and I've just decided my brain cannot learn 4. Like, I've committed to learning 2, and I just cannot learn 4, so I'm sticking with the 2. I know that kind of defeats the purpose, because this one adds the shift key in. So if you want, you can make a paddle a shift key, and then you can make any button have a second functionality. And if you're a pro at pretty much any game, I'm sure that would give you a massive advantage, but I just don't have it in me to learn 2 sets of controls for a game.
I haven't used a single paddle ever. I am kind of scared to admit at this point now.
Well, I finally have a screenshot button, because what I realized when I was setting this up is I hadn't used the Xbox Accessories app since I set up my Elite years ago, and they've updated it quite a bit. So now you can map actions to the buttons as well as buttons. And I map my left and right sticks to the buttons, to the paddles, because I just hold that down. And you normally have like a stab button or something on the right stick, so just having that underneath works really well for me. Then I realized like left stick click is nothing. So I've set that to screenshot now, and I've fixed Microsoft's biggest problem for them, because they refuse to put a screenshot button on, but you can map it now.
That's super smart. I'm going to get you to write something about how to do your favorite mapping, I reckon, because...
Well, mine's pretty basic, so I'm only going with the 2, but it works well, and it works for almost every game. So because most games have left stick is sprint, right stick is melee attack, or crouch, that's all I really need. So that's my go. And now I've got a screenshot button, as I say, and I used it for the first time in Call of Duty. I had to stop and think, which one did I make screenshot and which one did I make record? But in time, I'm sure I'll get that. But yeah, I like it. The only thing I don't like now is the Xbox home button it's like a click button. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't feel the same as the old one.
Oh, I kind of like it now that I've used it more often than not.
I think I'll get used to it too, but I haven't got there yet, and I'm not sure if I pressed it or not because it's but yeah.
Well, my controllers are so old and so used that I kind of have to like mash that button normally to get it to work to take a screenshot, and I know this one's I can rely on it now that I can now that I've trained my brain to trust it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's getting out of bad habits that you formed with the old controllers and into like these new habits, I suppose. So you've talked about the shift button. There's like 3 hair trigger settings on the triggers. So you used to have like a little button where you could depress it, or you could flick it down and have like a shorter press. Now you can do that 2 stages, so like full, mid, and low. There's also 3 profiles if you want to set up different profiles for different games, and you can toggle between those with a button press on the controller. What else is new? It's completely rechargeable battery-less, so it has an internal battery that is charged by a USB-C cable, which is also really cool. And it also comes with a like little stand/charger that's how I charge
thing.
now.
Yeah, me too. You just put your controller down and it lights up and tells you if it needs to control. You don't need to plug it in. That's how lazy we're getting, that plugging in the thing is like, oh no, I can't be bothered doing that. But you just rest your controller on the dock and it charges for you. So,
well, and it's really easy just to I used to just set it down on the desk, and I set it down on the dock on the desk, and it's charging overnight. Whereas I went downstairs and was playing on the downstairs Xbox with Matt's old Elite controller now. And it, brought up the batteries are low prompt on the Xbox. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I haven't had that with the new Elite, because I've just been like setting it on the dock at night. So when I play next, it's fine. The dock also fits in the little carrying stand, and there's like a little hole at the top of the carrying stand where you can just plug a USB connection straight into it. So you can have your controller in the carrying stand on the dock being charged, which is like, I don't think I'd ever do that myself. I don't really take my controller many places, but it's a cool little side thing
getting
you
so
can do.
dirty, I guess. The only problem long term is now the battery is stuck in there. So if I'm going to use this with Scarlett for another 3 or 4 years, the battery is going to wear down eventually, and you can't replace it. So with Xbox, I've always just used the Xbox brand rechargeable battery that you plug into your console. But once they start to wear down, you can replace it for like $20. Now we don't have that option. Now, PlayStation and Nintendo have both been doing this for ages. They don't seem to care, but it's just like the DualShock 4 controller battery is awful, and it might be worse than it was at launch because I've just used it so much now that it barely retains any charge. And yeah, hopefully Microsoft offer here's a reasonably priced new battery option, because they've taken that one little thing away.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
That's very long-term thinking.
And something I did...
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
The only other thing is the sensitivity of the joystick, control stick. So you can change it with 3 tensions, I think.
Yeah.
Now, they don't actually say anywhere what they are. So I'm pretty sure the loosest one, which is the default, is a normal Xbox, and 2 and 3 down are more tension, more resistance. So yeah, I haven't really played around with that too much, because it seems like, again, you've got to learn how to play with totally different settings, and I don't know that I can be bothered.
Yeah, well, like, Hamish, when he was playing Xbox Destiny 2 with me, he's like, oh, go into... And even Jamie, formerly from Nintendo, who's in my Destiny 2 clan, they're like, oh, man, you gotta go into, like, the Destiny 2 settings and, like, change sensitivity to, like, this. And it's gonna be awful for 2 weeks, but then you'll get used to it, and then you'll be a much better player. And I feel like it's the same kind of thing. Like, you'll play a game with whatever setting your controller's at, and you kind of just get used to it. It might not be the right fit for you, but... I've just kind of played like, oh, I need to just, that's how it is. I just need to work around it. And I feel like if you start going and changing the controller setting, not like in a game, but like in the controller, it's that same kind of thing. There's a learning curve, and you got to figure it out.
You'd have to commit. You'd have to say, all right, I wanted to have the second tension. I'm gonna miss heaps of headshots in whatever game I'm playing. I'm gonna get killed a lot. I actually was switching around mid-game in Call of Duty to try to see if there was any difference, which is probably the wrong thing to do, and I kind of liked the middle one. And then I played Outer Worlds for a little while, and it felt like I was walking through mud, and I had to change it back to the default, because it was like, I can't use this. It's so slow and unresponsive. So yeah, it would take time to relearn how to use that, but maybe you would become a better player if you commit.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Let's keep going. You mentioned the Outer Worlds in the Stevivor review list. That's like next. So, because I like hearing the sound of your voice, Ben, and I've missed you so.
Yeah.
What do you think so far of what you've played?
Well, most of what I played is character creation, and the first tutorial where you basically get your weapon and talk to a bunch of people. So that is it. Yeah, it feels like a Bethesda game, which is what you would expect from Obsidian. So they've come.
It feels like a Bethesda game, but it's a colorful Bethesda game, and not just. I guess I'm not really a Skyrim guy or a Elder Scrolls guy, so I'm like a Fallout dude. So everything's usually just like it's like the Call of Duty gray and brown and shit. This is like
colorful. The color reminds me of No Man's Sky, and it might be because there's a giant Saturn right in your vision in the very first place you land. But I got that vibe from it. Like, let's make everything colorful and fun. And I have no idea what's going on story-wise because I just didn't pay that much attention. But yeah, it seems a lot of people are raving, and a lot of people are saying, I'm surprised I'm not more into it because it seems like my type of game. So I haven't heard anyone say it's bad. All I've heard is people loving it or people saying, I'm surprised I'm not loving it.
I gave it a 9.5. I'm super into it. It is like a colorful sci-fi, and as we found later in the month, like I gave Mass Effect Andromeda a good score too, because I like sci-fi. I like sci-fi. I like games like Fallout. This is by Obsidian, who did Fallout New Vegas, which is... It wasn't one of my favorite Fallout games. I kind of think Fallout 3 is still my favorite, but New Vegas is a lot of people's favorite Fallout game. So they know how to do the formula. So they've taken that formula, put it into a sci-fi setting with, like a No Man's Sky-esque aesthetic, and made a really good RPG where you get to go and be your own character and run into these different factions and decide to, support this faction to screw over this one or vice versa, and your actions have consequences, and you just play your character all through this giant space opera, and it's really fun. It's like a Bethesda game with a much, much better engine, and without any bugs that I could really find. It's just a really pleasant experience, which I enjoy, and I'm really happy to just kind of go and spend some time in. So...
Well, it's the other game I was partially thinking, do I commit to it now or do I save it for that post-Christmas period where I've got a bunch of time, or at least, a week between Christmas and New Year's to find something to do. And I normally save a game for that week, so it's a potential candidate for that.
That's usually my Assassin's Creed week, but that's not going to happen this year. Which is, I didn't think of that.
No, well, yeah, you've played absolutely everything that's come out, so there's nothing left.
Yeah, that's true. I had something else I wanted to say about it, but I completely forget.
Well, it's on Game Pass, so if you haven't played it, there's really no reason not to.
That's it. And this kind of came out a day after, for some unknown reason, Bethesda decided to put a $180 Fallout 76 subscription on the market called Fallout First, where you can get some cosmetics and get a private server that is actually just a repurposed server. So all the stuff that was in the server has already been looted by other people, but you get to pay for the privilege of being on it.
I'd already forgotten about that.
Oh, it's so stupid. I can't believe Bethesda is doing what Bethesda is doing right now. Like they've burned through all of the goodwill they've earned over the last 10 years. Just like in one fell swoop, it's gone.
I don't understand how it costs so much. It's like $24 a month or something Australian. It costs Game Pass is $16. So it doesn't make, like, Netflix is like $14 or something. Why is it so much? Why would anyone pay that? I don't understand what they're doing. I do notice the community manager of Bethesda happened to leave. Maybe they just thought, oh no.
Yeah, well,
I can't deal with this.
And I'm sure Microsoft is always going to market Outer Worlds and Fallout New Vegas on Game Pass anyway. But, Bethesda's come out and said, oh, hey, it's $180 a year for this, like, ridiculous subscription for this game that no one likes. Surely this is a winner, guys, right? And Microsoft's just like, if you want two really good Obsidian games, one that is Fallout and one that is, like, essentially the next evolution of Fallout. Just pay a cheaper per month or per year fee, and you get 2 games instead of a subscription to a game that doesn't even include the game. Like, this stupid Fallout subscription doesn't include access to Fallout 76. You need to buy the game first and then buy the subscription. It's mind-numbing.
It doesn't make any sense. And that followed them saying, here's Doom Eternal. It's a great game. It looks like a great game. We're delaying that. Anyhow, we would like some money. So please subscribe. It's just, I don't understand. The last 12 months of Bethesda have made no sense to me. And before that, they couldn't really do that much wrong. So weird things going on.
The other thing you missed, Ben, is there was a giant preview opportunity for The Last of Us 2 that we sent Adam Matthew to. He wrote an amazing little preview for us. At that preview, they announced the release date for The Last of Us Part 2 in February 2020. And then 2 weeks later, Naughty Dog has delayed The Last of Us 2 to May 2020, which is just a really weird, this weekend delay kind of news thing that I thought would be appropriate to bring up right now.
When I first saw that, I thought, there's no way. These people talking about a delay must be talking about the original release date, must be later, like the February one, must be later than they originally said. It was just so soon after that I thought there's no way anyone would, especially a Sony-level publisher, would announce a release date and then 3 weeks later say, actually, we need 3 more months. Sometimes they delay a game by 2 weeks or something just for logistics. But it's also not like a 6-month delay because it needs a lot of work. It's a weird one, and I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, and sticking on I'm just injecting news into this, Ben, for some reason. Ubisoft came out with some financials. They're not happy with how Breakpoint is performing. And related or not, they've said that they have pushed back games including Gods and Monsters, which was announced at E3 and was scheduled for February. That's been delayed. Watch Dogs Legion has been delayed. Rainbow Six Quarantine has been delayed, and I feel like there's one more that I forget, but they're kind of going to be pushed back later into the year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe are planned now for closer to a holiday 2020 release. I wouldn't be surprised if they also come out for Scarlet and PS5. And Yves Guillemot said that some, if not all, of these Ubisoft titles are going to support crossplay between different platforms. So, we're kind of nearing the end of a life cycle. It doesn't bother me if these come out on current gen and next gen. I'll obviously pick them up on next gen given the chance. And as long as they're kind of beefed up to look a bit nicer and perform a bit better on next gen, it doesn't seem like a loss, really. It's that kind of thing where I'd rather play something late that's better than sooner than later that's worse.
And I'm sure they've factored that in when they didn't say when they're delaying it to on purpose. They said they're going to be out before April 21. So they'll know that PlayStation and Xbox are both coming out probably November. And they probably think we could delay these till September, October, and then release them again a month later to get the double dippers, which there will be a small amount of people. Or they could say, well, let's not piss people off again. Let's just release them one time on everything. Or better yet, they could say buy it on current gen if Sony and Xbox allow this, and you can play it on last gen because it's just like a PC now. So it doesn't matter which one you're playing on. You just need to buy the game once. That is my play anywhere hope for next gen. I don't know if it will happen because they won't make as much money. But from a technical side, PS3 and PS4 are very different. 360 and Xbox One are very different. But the next gen, architecture-wise, is going to be pretty similar. So they could absolutely do it more like a PC. One copy for both. Yeah,
I think so too. Can I lightning round you for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, good. Because we're going pretty long for us. Not that we're going long in general, but long for us. Still lots more games to review, so I'm just going to give you some really hot takes on a couple. Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD used to be on Wii, now is on PC, Xbox One, and PS4. They've got rid of motion controls. There used to be 50 mini-games, now there's 10. Some of the 10 mini-games are still shit. A lot of the ones that were super duper shit have been cut. It's better without motion control. It's pretty good. It's kind of a budget price game, but it's also coming out at the time of everything else. So, like, you know, if you're a super fan, play it. Otherwise, I don't know, whatever. After Party, which is by Night School Studios, who did Oxenfree. Amazing game. I think I gave it a 9. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 9. Oxenfree I really, really liked. It had really quirky dialogue and a sense of humor, but like the controls were a bit weird and it took a long time to get into the good game. After Party the premise is pretty simple. You die, you go to hell, you figure out you can challenge Satan in a drinking contest to potentially come back to the world of the living, and it just like starts like full throttle from there. Really, really fun. I love the sense of humor. Not overly difficult, but there's a lot of kind of branching paths that you can take, so you can do A or B, and it like drastically affects what's happening next. So it's really, really fun. Lots of potential for playthrough, or not playthrough, repeat playthroughs. Not that I've done most of that because we're in this period and I've played 8 million thousand games, but it's really, really good. I do recommend it. It's on Game Pass for Xbox One, not for PC. I think it's I think it's a Epic Game Store exclusive, but I might be wrong. It's really, really good though. Do check it out. What else? Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 on Switch. It's a mini game factory. I don't really want to say anything unless you have any pressing questions about that, Ben.
No questions.
Yes. The better Switch game is Luigi's Mansion 3, which is actually hilariously charming. I've never really played any Luigi's Mansion game to any great extent, but I had a lot of fun with this one. Are you a Luigi's Mansion fan?
I am. I think it's an underrated Nintendo franchise, but we've only had 2 games before this, is probably why. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it. It looks really good. It looks like one of the best looking Switch games, and yeah, the one puzzle I played at E3 was really cool, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And kind of like I was going to say After Party, not at all like After Party. I guess you're dead, and there's ghosts. Like Yooka-Laylee, there's a lot of fun little puzzles to explore as you go through floor after floor of this mansion, which, like, you know, sometimes affect progress and sometimes just kind of are fun puzzles to come upon and solve. So it's just really fun. Do recommend. It got me through many a train trip to and from work. So did like it very much. Need for Speed Heat, I'm going to hit up really quickly just because it's a review in progress as the time of recording. Theoretically, we'll get this podcast out before the review embargo in full hits. It is a game that is good and bad. I'm not entirely sure. And like, this isn't a, you know, embargo breaking thing because I'm not actually sure what I think about it yet. It's Ghost Games' 4th Need for Speed game. It's kind of a mix between Underground and Hot Pursuit and Most Wanted. So the premise is it's kind of split into day and night. So, you're, an up and coming street racer. In the day, you race to get money. In the evening, you race to get reputation. And in the evening and in the day, you kind of like, you can piss off the cops and try to evade them and stuff. But in the daytime, the cops are like really, what's the word I want? They are subdued. That's not the right word, but they're like lesser. They're going to obey traffic laws. They're not really going to be that aggressive. In the evening, they're super aggressive. And if you can evade them or if you can total their cars, you build up something called a heat meter, which if you stack the multiplier up on that, you get more reputation. So you're basically working 2 XP systems, the reputation system to become a name in Palm City, and then the daytime meter is basically just cash. So you can get cash to then go and spend on cars or car parts, but you have to be a specific level of reputation to get better cars and get better car parts. Does that make sense so far?
It sounds like a Need for Speed game to me.
Like it's good, but it's not great. And I've run into a bunch of bugs right now. And it's almost like at nighttime, even on easy settings, because like I've played a million games. I have no qualms saying I'm playing this on easy, Ben. You do one race, you get a whole bunch of reputation, and you basically have to drive to a safe house to bank it in the evening. And if you run into a cop, like, the map's not that open, so you have to kind of just race through this city to try to evade them. And I think like the last time I was playing was probably like an hour before we recorded. I totaled 7 cop cars, but I always had 4 cop cars chasing me at one time. So eventually, because your car takes damage and you can only repair it 3 times at night, like you just can't evade the cops. You can't like wreck the cops until they don't chase you anymore. Like you eventually will just get caught, and then all the reputation you've earned just goes away. So it's like, do I even bother with the risk reward system of trying to bank more reputation, or do I just do a race, bank the points, get the reputation, and keep progressing? Like, and it's fun to evade the cops, but eventually it becomes not fun to evade the cops because they just keep coming at you. So I don't know if I like it.
It sounds like you don't like it, but I'll wait for your actual review when you have a...
But I've never tried to just bank the points and just, like progress little by little. I've always tried to like go big or go home. So like maybe it's just the way I'm playing it's wrong. But I also feel like you should be able to play it more than one way.
Probably. I think maybe you didn't understand the game. I'll just throw it out. Too soon?
And on that note, let's talk about Death Stranding.
Have you played Death Stranding?
Oh, fuck. Ben, have I ever played Death Stranding? Jesus Christ. Let me preface this by saying, if you like Hideo Kojima, you are more than welcome to like Death Stranding. I gave bloody Metal Gear Solid 5 a 9. I went and looked today, because I'm like, no one's questioned me on that yet. It's because I liked Metal Gear 5. It was, like, not Ground Zero so much, and not the start of Phantom Pain, but I liked most of the core gameplay loop of 5 when you actually got to go to places and like muck around with combat and stealth. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Death Stranding, which is literally a 50-hour game where you play courier, taking packages from one place to the other, feathering the L2 and R2 buttons so you don't fall over most of the time until you get attributes where you can do that less. And then you get vehicles, so you can just, like, drive off into the sunset. And then, like, immediately after, Kojima says, no, you can't use the cars anymore because you're going to scale a mountain. And technically, I guess I'm breaking embargo because I'm talking about things past episode 3 of episode double digits. It's a frustrating game around every corner with cutscene after cutscene after cutscene after cutscene after allegory that Kojima thinks that he's like expertly woven, but it's just like smashing you over the head with it. Like, oh, America needs connecting. America's disconnected. We need to connect people. Like, I get it. If there was any aspect of show rather than tell, I would be on board. But it's so self-indulgent. Like, it is literally self-indulgent. It is Kojima, who has come out since saying he wants to make films. Like, he's made a film that has some video game in it, but he forgot to make the video game bit fun, is the best way of describing it. I'm so sick of talking about Death Stranding, Ben. You've read the review. Do you want to ask me questions or steer me to a specific topic? I don't even know anymore. Like, I just want Death Stranding to be over.
I will say that I read your review. I skimmed through a couple of others and generally looked at the Metacritic. So I think the Metascore is about 83 or something. You are on a 3.5, which I think is what it sounds like it is, having not played it. And all the people commenting who hate you, and all the people who... There's a lot of people on your side too. None of them have played it.
No.
I think a lot of people, come release, I think a lot more people will side with you based on what you and everyone else is saying. And I'm frankly shocked by some of the scores other people are giving it, because every review I've read has said it's boring. A lot of them explicitly say it's not fun. Do not play this. 8 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I think there's a massive level of people that are terrified of PlayStation specifically. If this wasn't a PlayStation and wasn't a Kojima game, I think it would be getting a lot more 3s and 4s. If it even just wasn't one of them, I think it'd be getting a lot more 5s. People are terrified of upsetting both of those, but especially PlayStation. They're just too worried. People don't want to be the one to say this AAA big massive PlayStation 4 exclusive from Hideo Kojima is bad. So even people like IGN's review is pretty scathing, and they gave it a 6.8. Doesn't make...
but that's IGN.
Well, and people...
Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
But comments on that were people saying, oh, it's good to see a truthful review, not giving it a 9 because it's a PlayStation game. The review, to me, did not read 6.8. It read more like a 3.5, but he didn't say that. It's just, I'm actually quite disappointed in the general game critic sphere, and I think a lot of people, including the people saying, oh, the game's not broken, you can't give it a score this low, when they play it, I think they're going to be disappointed. And I think there's going to be people who force themselves to sit through 50 hours of a horrible game because they want to justify to themselves this was worth my money, even though they hate it. No, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I've not played it either, but that's just
yeah. So, and I have. Weirdly, in the NDA, there was like an actual stipulation that said you must finish this game before you give it a score. To which Edge Magazine didn't have time to finish it before publication. They said we can't review it. Like, fair enough. I am 100% convinced that if I gave this game a 3.5 and didn't have the screenshot of the final trophy, I would have some sort of legal action against me by Sony at this point. So... And that I've been accused of not finishing the game, and I will put up that screenshot on the 11th of November because there are so many little embargo dates as part of this review. It's insane. So the game comes out on the 8th. We can't talk about anything past episode 3 until the 11th of November, which I've kind of already broken, but it's hard not to break it in some little aspect. No screenshots, no video past episode 3 until the 11th of November so far. It's just like it's a super weird thing.
Once the game's before release, that's fair enough. But once it's out there, it's out there. So a streamer can come along and stream the whole game on day one. They go and buy it themselves. They can do what they want. So I think Sony know this is a bad game, and they've done some excellent PR and marketing to spin it up to a high score.
Did you see the Rick and Morty thing, Ben? There was a Rick and Morty thing.
Was there?
Yeah, there was. I think I honestly do believe you are right. I read a lot of those reviews as well, especially after being like just inundated with like abuse over the week. And like my best quote from Metacritic as part of the Metacritic quote, like before you even click into the review, says it's not fun. 3.5 out of 5. So they gave it a 7 out of 10 for not being fun. Whatever. Like that's up to people. I feel like I felt like I wanted to bash my head against a brick wall for the 50 hours that I played, or 45 to 50 hours that I played. But I feel like the 2,200 words I wrote about it is very representative of my experience. So I'm absolutely fine with what I wrote. If people wanted to say the same kind of thing and give it a higher score, whatever. I feel like the tide is going to turn quite a bit come Friday when people get to experience the game for themselves. And by all means, absolutely do it. Especially in Australia, you can like take that game back to EB Games, especially if you buy it physically after, I can't remember how many days, but you have like a little bit of a grace period there.
You've got 7 days, yeah.
GameStop in America, they don't do the same kind of thing as Australia does, but if you buy the game, you can return it within 48 hours after launch to get full trade-in credit for the game. So whatever you paid for, you get in trade-in credit. Like, if you don't think you're going to hate it and you want to try it out, by all means, try it. It's just I would not ever recommend it to anyone ever. It's not good. I had something else I wanted to say, but I don't know. Like, this week has been, I've almost been in tears, I've been laughing off my head. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, read the review if you want to see what it's about. I think it's a pretty succinct review. I think it really matches the number is the main thing. A lot of people just skim down to the number, they read that, and they just want to criticize straight away. But I think it really matched up. And I read it before you published it, and I thought that's exactly what it reads like to me. So, yeah, most of the others I read did not match. And I know people get too obsessed with this, but to be on Metacritic, you have to give it a number, which is why we have to think about, does this make sense? Does it fit the policy? And it does.
Yeah.
I think a few too many other sites did not. They got caught up in that let's not anger Sony camp as their main thing. So, yeah. Anyhow.
Yeah, well, and like I get phone calls from Sony with a 3.5 review for Death Stranding, but I don't get phone calls from Sony about a positive review for Concrete Genie or for God of War or for Spider-Man. So like, it is what it is. That's just how it works. I don't think I have to say it to people listening to this, but like, I didn't write it for clicks or for exposure. I wrote it because that was my experience with the game, and the words read right to the number. If you like it, cool. Like, you're more than welcome to like it. I'm telling you that I don't like it and that I wouldn't recommend it. And I just happen to be the one writing the review. So it is what it is.
It's going to be interesting. Once more people have it, I think it's going to be a game. You heard a lot of dividing and polarizing and all those buzzwords. I think there's going to be a lot more people than they realize who really dislike it. So I know I do not want to play a 40-hour game which feels like a slog. And it is a lot of the most recent Sony big exclusives. So you've God of War, your Spider-Man. They have been really well crafted single player experiences over like 20 hours that you can extend if you want. I think it's even stuff like Detroit, which was very linear. I kind of got bored by the end of that, but I could see why people liked it. I don't think it's going to be what people expect it to be.
Yeah. Oh, like the story in parts is really good. The visuals are absolutely amazing. Like it looks very pretty. There's like 3 biomes though. Like it's either green, hilly place, snowy mountain, or like rocky land. But like those 3 places are really pretty. The idea of the strand, this weird genre that Kojima made, it's not. It's like, it's a video game, mate. You didn't invent anything. But there's this kind of cool notion that you can put things in the environment and other people can use them, which is very cool. And that is a really good example of how the world is connected and you can do good for other people without, like maybe intending to, but like your actions have consequences which can help other people. And if Kojima found any way of having that happen without having to beat you over the head with this notion of connection, without literal characters just banging on and on about connection. Maybe, well, not really, because the rest of the gameplay is super frustrating, but like, there's so many things that could have happened. There was so much potential that could have been there, and it's just trivial. And it's Kojima thinking, in my mind, that he is amazing and like this is the perfect way to do this. Like no need to have anybody tell me that there's a better way, or no need to have this critiqued because it's perfect. And if it resonates with you, more power to you. But anyway, I would love to see people apologize come Friday, but I doubt that's going to happen.
I think we'll get a couple, but we'll see.
I doubt it. Are we done? Can we be done?
We are done.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all the big games except for Call of Duty, which we've touched on briefly.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I got sidetracked by the Death Stranding. Let's talk about Call of Duty. I haven't finished it, but I've played a bunch of multiplayer and 4 missions or so of the campaign. How about you?
Well, you've played all those games we just talked about in the last 4 weeks, and I played only Call of Duty. So, granted, I've only been back for a week, and it was the game that came out, so I played it.
Do better, Ben. Come on. Work harder. Jesus.
Well, I know regular listeners would have expected that I was reviewing it, but we cannot because Activision did not want to give any early access, which is actually pretty standard for Call of Duty, but very annoying, and we have decided to not cover it, which I think is really fair. Screw them.
As part of a Stevivor review policy which says we don't want to... Oh, and like, I guess the background is we find that reviews don't get read after a game comes out or after an embargo has passed. So if we don't have enough time to actually play the game, think about it for a split second, write a review, polish a review, and publish a review, we're not going to do it anymore. And I think that's good for our mental well-being, says the guy who played 8,000 video games, but with lead time. So that's fine. But like when you try to throw a Call of Duty instant release into the mix or a Pokemon instant release into the mix, it's a straw too far. What's the saying? The straw that broke the camel's back.
That's the one. I would say the only obvious exception would be if you had something which was properly online, so like a Destiny style game. You can't really do that pre-release because there's no one to play with. It's not proper environment. So there's stuff like that I think we'd still consider.
That's like a breakpoint, like a Need for Speed Heat, really. Like Need for Speed Heat came out early access on PC on the 5th, and that's when we got code. But like I could start a rolling review in progress with the aim of hitting it for Friday. Anyway, we're talking about COD.
So, Call of Duty. I finished it, the campaign once, and... yeah, I really like it. I mean, it's a pretty easy 1,000 gamer score platinum trophy if you can get through the veteran campaign. I think I saw something from David Milner, former Game Informer editor, and he pretty much said it's not a fun game, and that's why it's good, because most Call of Duty games are very tight, linear, controlled things. There's a big set piece, you crash your helicopter, there's explosions, and most of that is still here, but scaled back a little bit. And what it really shoves down your face is kind of, here's what war is potentially really like. You have to confront kids being killed. You have to confront, you yourself play as a kid at one point, and you've got to stab like this big man to save yourself. So it's a bit more personal. It's a bit more reality of war, which I think Spec Ops is probably the most like game to kind of relate that to. So we don't see that a lot. You don't really expect it from Call of Duty. I think they built it up to be more controversial than it is. I don't think it's quite as groundbreaking as they kind of said it was going to be at launch, but it is definitely a different tone. It's much darker. But I really like it. It's a different direction. It's very far removed from the kind of crazy villain Kevin Spacey that we got about 5 years ago. So that's where Call of Duty was going then. Obviously, we can
Game of Thrones guy.
No longer we can. Yes. But yeah, so it's a different type of campaign. I didn't find it too unsettling because, it's a game at the end of the day. I don't think it's quite as emotionally invested as Spec Ops was, but yeah, it's definitely a very dark and real game. But I really enjoyed the campaign. That said, I think the levels is designed really well. I think the veteran mode is probably worth playing on because it gives you an actual challenge, but isn't as punishing as some of the last ones, so you can do it.
Yeah.
So,
I remember playing the original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, not Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, and playing it on, as Hardened, or whatever the top one is. It's probably this veteran. I don't know. Yeah. And it was sometimes it was a slog, and just one shot from nowhere and you were toast. So far, I've only played up to level or episode 4 or something, but it feels like you can make a mistake or two and not have to start from the checkpoint again.
So there's even some trophies and achievements for doing things like using a certain gun only, and I did most of those playing on veteran, even though true achievements will tell you play on recruit because it's the only way to do this. I actually just thought it made it funner for some of them because it gives you a secondary aim, and it was all doable pretty much. So
I've not done much so far, but I've killed only bad guys, not civilians, in one level on veteran, and got an achievement and carried a cinder block from one level the start of the level to the end of the level for an achievement on veteran.
Yes, make sure you're still holding it when you do the ladder, because I did not the first time. I threw it down the hole and then I did get the achievement. Very annoying. The only one I had to go back and do on recruit was take down a helicopter with a Molotov cocktail, and that is a bit too much on veteran because that's a ridiculous way to take down a helicopter. Yeah. But yes, so anyway, we're going a bit too far talking about the achievements, but I actually quite like them as opposed to the Black Ops 4 ones, which were horrible. I think the campaign's good. I haven't played Spec Ops at all, but I played a fair bit of multiplayer.
Likewise?
I would probably say it's my second or third, probably third favorite this generation. Probably the two Sledgehammer games, multiplayers, I've enjoyed more. But it's back to a good pace for Infinity Ward. They know how to play it at this Modern Warfare level. We said in while we were playing, the sound of footsteps is way too powerful at the moment because you can hear people around you from a long way off, and you pretty much look at the minimap and see, is there a blue dot there, which means it's my teammate? No, then you know there's someone around you, and they know the same about you. So I think it does promote camping a little bit too much, but beyond that, I think the combat loop is really good. The weapons are good. It takes away the bloat of all the massive unlocks that we had last year, which seemed to just dominate everything. With free maps coming, I do get the feeling that they've saved a few good ones. So this is the first year they're not going to charge you $80 to get the season pass. You get the maps for free. And it feels like there's probably a few missing, like they would normally have a few more good ones. And I suspect that's why. I think they've got them. They're ready to go. They just wanted to save them to make it feel like you get this free update later because it's probably lacking a couple of good ones. But besides from that, it's all good. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. I guess the standard kind of COD fare. I definitely agree about the footstep thing. There's also this weird thing where your character will call out enemies and just scream, and it's just really distracting, and it's oh, target sighted or whatever. And it's just it's too loud and it's too distracting from everything else that's happening. There's so many sensory triggers that are happening all at once, and it's maybe I'm just old, but I'm struggling with that. Gunfight is a new mode, and also there's I don't know what it's called. It's the battlefield mode,
the fake battlefield mode.
I really like both of them actually. Gunfight's really cool because I don't play a lot of the COD multiplayer. I've had things to do, Ben. But I feel like there's a meta that I don't understand with the multiplayer so far, but Gunfight kind of takes that meta away because you spawn, it's 2v2, you spawn with a specific set of weapons, everybody has the same, and you just gotta make do with what you have. And I kind of like that because it's, you know, like, it's not like I just pick this shotgun and do whatever. It's, you know, like, you have a handgun this time, you have a sniper rifle this time. It's really fun. It can also be frustrating, I guess, depending on who you're paired with, but I think it's pretty good so far.
I think it's good. It depends who you're paired with and who you're against, because once and this goes into one of the other features, I got matched up with 3 other people all on PC playing with keyboard and mouse. And so I just had to be like, well, nope, I'm no chance in this playing on Xbox with controller. So while it's awesome that there's crossplay, there is no option to say controllers only. All you can say is you want
no
crossplay or you're all in. So I think that's something they could look at. I know they've done it on purpose. They say ideally we'll match you with someone using the same control configuration as you. If that can't be done, then we'll broaden it. So basically you'll get matched with a PC player. That's a problem for Gunfight especially.
And this is a tangent, but not. And like Ben, I'm going to bring it back to Destiny 2. Can you imagine? Because I've been playing on the PC version more often than not lately. I've been playing because I cannot do keyboard and mouse. I cannot make my brain make WASD make sense. Like, I look like a 5-year-old child. I recorded a video at work where I just had my keyboard and mouse, like, jumping to get to a specific thing to show people where a secret was. And, like, I look like I have, like, motor dysfunction. It's awful. Anyway, I use a controller to play Destiny on PC, and I am holding my own in the Crucible because, and as someone kind of mentioned, like, you have to be really good with the keyboard and mouse to make the keyboard and mouse work, whereas, like, most people are kind of average, and I probably play more games more than most people, so I should probably have a little bit of an edge with a controller against someone who's kind of, like, a casual against a keyboard and mouse. I don't know if that's true for Call of Duty, of course, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
It'll be interesting to see how it works.
It does tell you what platform your opponent's on or teammates and what control scheme they're using. So normally I'm either Xbox and PC or just Xbox and we're all on controller. It's only been a couple times people have been on keyboard and mouse. Never had someone on PlayStation match up with me. So I don't know what that's about. It's apparently a thing that will happen, but it has not. So I don't know why.
Well, and because there's like that 1-year exclusive on some of the Spec Ops stuff on PS4.
Oh, yeah. So I haven't touched that yet.
True Call of Duty fans will play on PS4, apparently. I don't know.
And the other mode, Ground War, I'm not that into it. I think I probably should play it a bit more. I've only played it a couple of times, but I just feel like if I want to play this, I'll just play Battlefield 5. Like, it's the same thing, but better there. Like, Call of Duty's version is the first time we've had proper vehicles in COD, and I don't really want to use them. I haven't given it enough time, to be fair, but yeah, I just feel like this is Call of Duty copied basically the Battle Royale last year. Well, not basically, they pretty much cloned PUBG, got out all the bugs, and they made it into a good game. So now they've gone with copying Battlefield, and to be fair, Battlefield's copied heaps from COD over the years, but yeah, I don't think we need this.
Yeah, like, I've done pretty well in it so far, when I've only played a couple games, but it's like a Battlefield-esque giant map, you know, control points, capture those, burn tickets kind of mode. But it's weird because I've had to actively tell myself to not play like a Battlefield mode and to play like a COD mode in a Battlefield map, if that makes sense. So like, yeah. I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing by playing COD style. And I do well, probably because everybody else is playing the map COD style as well and not playing like you should in Battlefield. Whereas if this was a Battlefield map, like, everyone, I think, would be far more reserved in how they attack targets.
It's got to be more attacking in COD, definitely. And people don't play as a team, even though you do still have squads. It's the exact mirror of Battlefield. But the squad system in Battlefield works really well. You have the leader pinging where you should go. And most of the time, people do it. And you get rewarded, you get XP, you get extra points for doing that. People are not going to do that in Call of Duty, and so the team cohesion isn't quite there. So yeah, as you say, you have to play it differently.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Are we done now?
Now we're done. That's pretty much all the games for the year.
There are a couple that come out in November. I don't know about December because I haven't written the games for December post yet, but November we still have in front of us Need for Speed Heat that comes out on Friday alongside Death Stranding on the 8th of November. We've got on the 15th Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Pokemon Sword and Shield. And there's some other stuff around, but like those are the big ones. And then I think we're pretty much like, that's it, Ben. That's 2018.
That's it. Well, I am very much looking forward to Star Wars. So I've only played 20 minutes at E3, but it was a strong 20 minutes. So if the whole game's like that, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, Pokemon's always fun. So
yeah, sounds good. We'll see how we go. I think the Game Awards, we've sent our nominations through. We can't say what we've nominated, obviously, but we'll get to vote on that in a couple days or something. I'm not sure. The awards are in December. Following that, we'll do our own Game of the Year stuff at the site, but we'll have a couple podcasts before then, theoretically. Who knows? We're pretty sporadic, Ben, and I don't even care. We'll figure it out. But check out the site for all the reviews. Please read the words. If you want to have like a civil discussion, I'm totally game, but if you just want to be a jerk about it, I'll probably just ignore you. Ben, how can we find you on social media?
I am Ben_Salter on Twitter. And yourself?
Dash Gamer. At Dash Gamer. No, wait, that's not right. I am SWrightAU on most things, and of course Stevivor is the handle for everything else. Thank you for listening. If you're listening, you're probably okay with Ben and I. If not, if you're just listening to this to be like enraged, I hope we've adequately pissed you off. Thanks for listening. Ben, I will see you on the COD battlefield.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Bye.